All right, Adam, again, awesome to have you here. Thank you so much for being willing to share your experience here. For anyone listening here,
That's
I assure you, Adam is a client, just like hopefully maybe you'll be one day here. Just so everyone knows here, I never said this is easy. I think Adam will test that. This is not a fucking magic trick. No unicorns in the morning you wake up, no birds chirping flying over your head. It's a workout for a different kind of muscle. So, Adam, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience.
You're
So,
very
let me
welcome.
for the obvious question to start here, just so anyone else could understand. What brought you my way? What made you decide to consider this program? And yeah, what brought you my way?
Well, to be honest, I was in a constant state of not so much depression, but just malaise, if you're familiar with that word. I was just constantly feeling like I wasn't 100% there energy wise. I wasn't like, I was just kind of blah every day. Um, and I was at the point where I was in another, I guess, situationship that kind of just ghosted. And I was like, all right, I'm tired of all this. Like there's no reason that this thing should be getting to me a month later when we only were talking for like 3 months or
Yeah,
whatever.
sure.
So I was like, there's no reason why I should be that attached to somebody. And I was like, there's gotta be a better way to do this to get over things like this. And I just kind of saw your ad on Facebook and I was like, let me check this out. It looks really good. And so far it's been everything that it said it was and more pretty much. So
Good. Yeah, most people, and you found out yourself as well. There is a reason. At the end of the day, you can have all the ideas in the world, but if your emotions are out of control or not, you know, not where you want them to be, you just say things you shouldn't say, you do things you shouldn't do. Not to mention, also,
yeah,
society has done a fucking amazing job of making people believe that you need people and situations to line up with you, and if you don't have these people and situations, it's going to be a hard life. Society's done an amazing job of saying, hey, if you want to be happy, you need a good job, you need to be in a relationship, you need a good circle of friends, and if you don't, you're fucked. That's what society's done for us here. And
yeah,
the problem is, every time we don't, if for people, I mean, I'm definitely not the exception here. I went through my own journey, as you know here, but when we buy into that, as many people listening to this call here do, the problem is every time we don't have those things that society told us we need, how does it make us feel? Bad. And
yeah,
remember, this is all wiring we're talking about here. If you can't stop yourself from going to the wrong gym and you're always doing things to make you feel bad, well, it becomes even easier and easier to feel bad, sad, neglected, betrayed, and that's the fucking problem. Most people would find
yeah.
out in the most practical sense, like you did here, they have been, not on purpose, been going to the wrong emotional gym for a long, long time. Because if you don't
Yeah,
use it,
they've been
you lose it, but if you use it, you grow it.
yeah.
So you're basically finding out that, just society, for lack of a better phrase, is taking the wrong gym for a very, very long time. So yeah,
Yeah, I think people have just been improperly programmed, so to speak, like for pretty much since they've been born. And
yep,
that's just kind of they learn all these bad habits and bad thought processes and all that stuff. And it's not so much at some point in time, it's almost not anybody's fault really. Like
no,
that's just kind of
totally.
where they're at. And so you just got to go through that reboot, that reprogram, control alt delete, like and
Right, right, yeah,
just kind of restart and reprogram and
yep,
reset and like I've never been I've always had like big aspirations and that's never because I'm shy of ideas of getting to where I want in life and whatnot, but
sure,
I've always just been kind of like held back by my own self and my own perfectionism and my own like fear of failure and my own all this other stuff that I'm just like, man, this is all just programming inside my head that doesn't need to be there and it's been
yeah,
holding me back so long. And it's not there yet, but like it's one of those things that's like you're undoing all these years and decades of programming and it's like it doesn't happen overnight, but it slowly gets there and one
yep.
step at a time.
I'll make a couple comments there. For anyone listening here, this is not a magic trick. This is not an overnight process.
No, I
Everyone
know
here,
I'm a magician.
if we want to have a conversation, 100 pounds is not your emotional strength. I'm not going to get you to 300 the first week. We're not going to give them the dollar 110, maybe 120 the next week. That's the way it's going to go. We're literally building a different kind of muscle from the ground floor. And you made a really great point, Adam, there. For everyone listening here, this will kind of help you out here. Society has done an amazing job of having you do society's workout. And society's workout
Yep.
is a very simple one. For anyone here, if you put on social media, you put on you go on social media, you go look on the TV. The default programs of society are: I'm not good enough. I need things, people, and situations to line up with me to be happy. And if I don't, I'm fucked. And number three, I should be afraid. Society does an amazing job of instilling, programming, wiring those three things. And none of those things feel very fucking good. That's why it's super
Yeah.
easy to go back in these negative programming again when you're in a relationship that doesn't go very well. It's very easy to go back there because most people have built these by default, these muscles for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting to say that because I just think about even before this program, I was like, why do people always go into this like my day was worse than yours contests, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's like that's I think that's all that programming, you know? Like I don't like participating in those contests. I never did because I'm just like just because your day is worse than
Yeah.
mine doesn't mean my day didn't go bad at that point in time. But it's not so much bad days, it's just days that you're learning more and you're growing and you're doing stuff. So it's like, why why waste time complaining about it all? Like
That's a great
you're
question.
just doing it to try to get sympathy from other people
Mhm.
and uh and that you think that's going to make you feel better, but it obviously doesn't because you're just having that same contest again in 5 minutes with other people. So
Yep. No, no, right on. You and I had a conversation, right? We got on a call, we had a conversation,
yep.
and Adam, you were compared to some people I work with, you were absolutely easy. I mean, I work with some people in some real like low places. You were easy, and
Yeah.
it really, I mean, especially sometimes I'll have a conversation with somebody where I do this call with them, like if they're open to doing, sharing their experience after they're done here. And a lot of people tell me like they're in some real low places where I'm even shocked. Like they didn't even tell me how bad it
Yeah.
was. Like I had a
Yep.
woman told me that this is not that long ago. Like one of my more recent video testimonials, like not only was she suicidal, she had a plan. She's gonna. I mean, she went to all this depth about how bad she was. So like,
Wow.
I knew we were in a tough place, but I wasn't fully up to speed on how low it was here.
Yeah.
You were easy compared to a lot of people. You had a good foundation. The way you describe it is pretty
Yeah.
well. You weren't bad. You're just like, you know what? I know there's more, which is really great because I always tell people you don't have to be in a bad place here. And by the way, for anyone listening here, if
Plus,
you're really successful in your life, you're doing really well. Let's help you do even better. You don't have to reach a bottom. You can be okay, and help you get to fucking great, fantastic. It's all wiring. Anyway, you're gonna say something, Adam.
well, that's
Go
what it is. I remember in our initial phone conversation, you were kind of like, why are you even here? Like, this
ahead.
is not the usual that I get. And so,
Yeah.
because I know you don't take everybody in your program,
Yeah.
it's one of those things you pick and choose who you work with because you have that ability to do so. It's your business, you're going to work with who you want to work with.
Yep.
So I remember that conversation. You were just kind of like, why are you even here? Like, I don't know, like, I don't know what the point is. And I explained it a little bit more to you, and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Like,
Yeah.
it was one of those things where I'm just like it's like that you don't have to be in that situation where you're planning out your suicide and all that kind of stuff. You want to catch it before you even get to that point, ideally, because then it's a lot easier to climb out of a hole that's 1 foot deep than it is to climb out of a hole that's 1,000 feet
Sure.
deep.
Absolutely, yeah. You had an attitude of excellence. You were a go-getter. You have a lot of things going on here. And again, you weren't bad at all when I spoke to you, but you had the right idea. So some of you all listening here, there's not gonna be any crying here on this call here, or cry,
No,
tears of happiness here. But a lot of you out there
I can cry a little bit if you want. I used to be an
no, no,
actor,
you don't need
let
that.
me
But yeah, but
know.
you get the point though. Like, but no, it's for everyone here. I hope if some of you are going to relate to Adam here. It's like I'm okay, but don't you want to be better? Don't you? If you have a lot of dreams you aspire to, how can you do that if your emotional gas tank is empty?
Yeah.
That's really why you and I lined up to really fill that up, so you could really perform at the level that you knew you were capable of. You weren't willing to
Yeah.
you really had that attitude of excellence here. So let me ask
Well,
you
it's
this.
always one of those things that I always think of, like you're either moving forward or you're moving backward. There's no
Yeah,
standing still.
yeah.
So if you don't have the energy or you don't know like it's getting to the point where you're mentally able to and energetically able to just move forward and keep moving forward rather than just being stuck in a rut, and that basically has you moving backwards at that point in time because the world is moving forward whether you're going with it or not.
This is true. No, perfect. So let me ask you a question then. So then we
Sure.
spoke. We had our conversation here. What was it about our conversation that made you? I mean, like I said, I was a little surprised. I didn't. I was like, this guy sounds pretty okay to me. But what made you decide to do this program? What was it about our? I'm actually really curious myself here. I was like hearing this answer here. I mean, look, the money you spent was not like a little bit of money, that's for sure. For a lot of people,
No,
it's a big investment. What was it about our conversation that made you that felt like that it was a an intelligent risk, if you want to call it that? What made you feel like this was a good
it came down to two things for me. One, I was tired of doing the same old, and being stuck where I was at. And I was like, I got to do something. If I want different results, I got to do something different.
Mhm.
That was the first thing that I thought about. And I said, it wasn't exactly, like I said, it's not a $20 ebook or anything like that. It's a program, it was one of those things where I had to think about how am I going to make this work financially for me.
Mhm.
Um, but it wasn't a will it work? It was how will I make this work? It's a two completely different questions. So it was one of those things where I was like, listen, this is something that I can have for the rest of my life,
Mhm.
that I can constantly, if I can be in a better emotional and a better energetic state for the rest of my life, it's worth whatever the cost was. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So that was the first thing. And the second thing that really got to me was just the initial, like, catalyst is how you put it. The initial thing that got me to even be looking for something like this
Mhm.
was that little situationship thing that I had, which
Yeah.
ultimately is, in the big scheme of things, is going to amount to being just a little blip on the radar. But
Yeah.
at the time was very much bothering me for whatever reason.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like, why is like, if something like this is bothering me this much, I don't want to, like, if something that actually is that I've been in for like 4 years or whatever, how much is that going to bother me later on? Like, I'd rather be prepared for that. And learn how to get into and out of relationships in a more in a better way, not get so attached so quickly, or not get so like into something that you don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
So like that really kind of opened my eyes a little bit, because it, it it was one of those things where I'm like, all right, why am I so into this? Um, they're I should like they're like, yeah, she was a great girl, but at the end of the day, I was like, I knew her for like 3 months. Why did that bother me so much? So those are the two basic reasons. So figuring how to get better at getting over that kind of thing, and also just being better at life in general overall.
Awesome. Yeah, you're the best attitude. I always tell people, like, you're doing really well. Like, that's great. Why not go even further? Like, I consider myself a student for life. I love learning. I'm not trying to be perfect here. I got my own, like, challenges in the past. I'm just trying to get better and better. And that's always the best attitude. It's like, personal development is one of the most enjoyable things. And as human beings, anything we can do for ourselves, that will improve that, really. I mean, it's funny when I talk to people and they say, "Oh yeah, I want to be my best self," or "I'm working with a coach right now. They're helping me be my best self," and I'll say to them, "Well, what are they having you do? What is that formula?" And like, "Well, I don't know." Like, then how the fuck are you going to do that? That you really being your best self starts with addressing the emotional core. When you
Yeah,
address the emotional core, and it becomes easier for you to feel better simply because you can. That really is becoming your best self, because now you really like a rocket ship of all systems a go. That really is by definition addressing that core. But anything someone to do if they really want to be their best self in all avenues, it would have to come in from that emotional conditioning perspective. So
yeah,
yeah, you had the great attitude, you had the right attitude with that. So yeah, we are really going to make you your best self so you can really truly execute and live and enjoy the way you want, which is really what life's about anyway.
yeah.
So let me ask you the next question, Adam. Once you get
Sure.
started, right? You roll the dice. You're like, okay, this is worth the risk here, so to speak. I don't think this is much of a risk as people think is when they start here, but I get it. I'm a stranger to them. But
Well,
once
I
you
think I think when you start it is a little bit of a risk, because you're not really sure what's going on. You don't really know. I mean, I didn't really know you. Like, I know you a little bit better now. And like,
Sure.
if I knew now if I knew back then what I knew
Yeah.
now, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. He actually cares about people. It's that kind of thing. But back then, I mean, I was just some guy on Facebook
Yeah,
that
that's
I was like, all
exactly
right, well,
correct.
let's see what this is.
Yeah.
But I've always been a pretty good reader of people. And I was like, okay, I could tell this guy, he knows his stuff. He's you can tell he cares, you know. And
Yeah.
so that was a big thing for me. Like that, like it's you can always tell when the coach is just trying to get your money.
Yeah.
You know
Sure.
what I mean? And that it comes across, a lot of it comes across as like used car salesman,
Yeah.
not to diss the used car salesman people, but it you didn't come across as that at all to me. So
Good. Yeah. I mean,
that was a
I know
big
it's
thing for
like
me.
when I was struggling, I mean, trying to find my own way here, and I kind of had to find my own way. It's not easy. You have to. It's important to remember, like there's a lot of options out there. You have to make a person feel comfortable. I know what it was like when I was thinking about spending thousands on something. It's like that's a lot. That was a lot of money. I'm like, I really
Yeah.
want to make sure I'm putting it in the right person's hands. So I got that. So I'm always happy to start with some where someone's comfortable. I don't have a problem with that at all. So yeah, so we started at a certain level
Well,
and kind of worked our
well,
way up.
plus the big thing for me, it was also like, and you made a good point. I think you mentioned it in my initial call too, but obviously you can't guarantee people making more money from it, but it makes sense. Like if you've got more energy and you feel better and you're starting to knock down some of these barriers that you've put
Mm,
in there for yourself, pretty much, it makes perfect sense that you're going to become more successful in the long
sure.
run. It might not be immediate, it might not be, so like at the end of the day, it's going to come back to me at some point in time, and more than likely not just come back to me, but like 10, 100-fold, like it's
Maybe
not
more than
something that's
that. We'll
guaranteed, but but it is, there's no, like, I have no doubt. It's just a matter of when.
It really
So
is it really is guaranteed. I always tell I mean, in the most practical way, I always tell people, if you live your life here, right? This is like, Joe 1.0, and you lived here the whole life, but that person, that regular person, Joe or, Jennifer 1.0, was relegated by their emotional conditioning. They can only speak how they feel,
yeah,
right? They're only going to be able to execute every day based on their energetic level. So if they had a certain skill set, but they were limited by this energy level, and then over several weeks or even months, they go from George or Jennifer 2.0, 3. If they're now this level, they're going to get more stuff
yeah,
done. They're going to have better
yeah,
conversations, and they are far less likely to say and do things they shouldn't say or do. If that
yeah,
person, in a practical sense, accomplished this at this level, but that was based on their emotional conditioning, their emotional strength, and I get them over not over one day, but over several weeks or months from there to like say here, you're going to
yeah,
speak at this level. You're going to make decisions at this level. You're going to be far less likely to sabotage yourself versus the older one. I mean, how can you not get a better life? I mean, who would you rather promote, Joe 1.0 or Joe 4.0? Joe 4.0 is far more
exactly.
engaged. Joe 4.0 is making way better decisions. It's obvious. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's simply a matter of time. So I
Well,
would
it's
tell
interesting.
people, like, yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the hardest thing for me has been like just my closer friend group aren't used to this,
mhm,
so it's like they're not really sure how to interact with me a little bit.
sure,
It's kind of like, well, this is how you used to be, but that's not like that's what I've been used to for 20 years or whatever it is, like, so it's like I think they're still trying to get used to where I'm at and where I'm going versus
yeah,
where I was, which is, it's gonna take some time, but
yeah,
they'll either go on that ride with me or they won't. So
awesome.
it's good.
Okay,
Yeah,
so a couple last questions here.
sure.
So once we got started, right? And I get it, it's a little bit of a leap of faith of sorts, or like a calculated risk, if you want to call it that. At what point did it become, and how far into the program did it become clear to you that something was happening? There was some kind of shift, like that this was really going to pay off. At what point, how long did it take into the program where you started, feeling some level of result? You're like, okay, this is going the direction I want to go.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I don't think I had like an epiphany one moment about what when that was, but there's a it's just every day is just another testament to, all right, I felt good today. I did well today. Like
Good.
um when I would normally beat myself up over certain things, like, or like arguments that I would normally get into just don't bother me. Like, people do certain things that people used to do that would bother me don't, and like, um I'm trying to think of, like, I don't think there was a particular day or a particular time or a particular event that happened.
Yeah, that's fine.
But just noticing, like, as time's going as time is continuing and I'm continuing to do what the things that I need to do, like realizing that all right, I'm no longer getting triggered anywhere near as often as I used to. Not I didn't get triggered a lot, but there are certain things that would get to me after a while, and there's it's not as prevalent anymore. Like it's not perfect, but there's things that like driving down the road, people do stupid stuff, and
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me anymore as like
Wonderful.
whereas it normally would. Or if it does bother me, it bothers me for way less time than it used
Yeah.
to. Like, it sometimes somebody would cut me off or whatever. I'd be aggravated for 15, 20 minutes. Now it's like, all right, 30 seconds. All right, I'm done. Like, I
Wonderful.
said my piece. So
Well,
it's yeah, that's I
that-
don't really have a full out answer to that question other than that. I don't think. So there was no particular like event or day or time or anything. It's just kind of like looking back as every day is just a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So
better, faster, quicker, stronger, right?
yep.
Good, good, good. So make a comment for everyone listening here. For anyone here listening here, if you're interested in having a conversation with me, I'm not gonna make you a robot or some kind of lobotomist creature. I'm married, I got tons of clients. I feel all emotions. I live in the real fucking world. I don't live in a monastery. Kind of like Adam's alluding to here. It's like you're gonna have challenges. That's just kind of the way life works. I mean, unless you want to live in a forest, that's gonna happen from time to time. In this world, the difference is when you have an experience, a challenge, a bad conversation. I'm not saying you won't feel that initial flood of this is not good, whatever that might be, a certain emotion. The difference is you won't stay there as long. Now, maybe in certain cases you might bounce off it in 30 seconds. Might sometimes might be a few minutes, or in some more extreme cases, it might be a few hours, or you might have to do these tools throughout the day. What you'll appreciate in this world is that at the end of the day, and I mean the same day, you would get your hand raised like either the male or female version of Captain America and say, you know what, not too shabby considering. So I really want to make sure this is super clear for anyone here that's considering having a conversation here. If you listen to what Adam's saying here, it's not that we don't feel emotions. So we're not robots here. I feel everything. We just don't stay in them. And hey, even
Yeah.
at the end of the day, even if you still have a little bit of that emotional residue, it's a hell of a lot fucking better than going the classic counseling or therapy route where you're on the hook for until next Monday for your counseling session. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised how much of a difference you can feel. Not that's gone completely, but a lot better. That's real freedom. Okay.
Well, what's nice is it doesn't really erase the problems. It changes how you feel
Right.
about
Exactly.
the
Yep.
challenges that you go through. So it's not that you don't go through those challenges in life. As a matter of fact, if you didn't go through those challenges in life would be really boring.
That's
Let's be
right.
honest. Like,
Challenges are what makes superheroes superheroes.
yeah, so it's one of those things where it just changes how you react to them, it changes how you feel about them, it changes how you
Mhm.
all of that.
Yep.
So
Perfect. Yeah. I just want to make sure anyone listening here, I'm going to overmanage your expectations so you understand what this is and what it's not. If you want to live in the real world and you want to just handle things a little bit better, a lot better, great. That's what this is for. No, I mean, the only person who can turn off something instantly is a fucking robot. That's not what this is here. It's about reducing that refractory period. So when you have a challenge, you might have an emotion, you won't stay there as long. That's what it's like a muscle, right? Professional athletes, they still get tired. They still have to take a little time on the bench, but they can get off the bench a little quicker. That's what they'll do for your emotions. That's the best way to kind of explain it. So awesome. So one last question, Adam.
sure.
Now that you're a good bit into this here, is Adam, dare I say, 4.0 or 5.0 as you continue your ascension? How do you feel about your future now, as far as your ability to handle what comes your way? You're a business owner. You have a lot of stuff going on here. How do you feel about your future?
There's no limits, man. Like, there's it's only limited by my own beliefs, really. Like,
Mhm.
I think your future or my future is gonna be what I make of it, and I'm a lot more confident in where I'm going than I used to be. So it's uh it's not there yet, but I'm not gonna put numbers on it
Mhm.
because I feel like that limits you too to an extent. But I think I've already got some game plans for like building my life path in my head, like
Mhm.
where I'm looking to go, what I'd like to do, and it's things are starting to fall into place more and more and more. So
So last question, optional one. You don't have to have one. No pressure here. Do you, is
Sure.
there anything else you'd like to add that you think anyone would be, do you think there's anything else you'd like to add just about your experience, in the program, what you're experiencing now that you think just might be valuable for anyone to hear? I know you weren't expecting that question. So, just say,
That's okay.
like to anyone listening, if you knew someone's listening right now that's going through a tough time, for example, or maybe an entrepreneur, right, that really is trying to take things a little further here. Do you think there's anything else that that person might want to know? You know, that might shift them and say, "Hey, you know what? There's a much better way here." Do you think is there anything else you'd like to share based on from your experience?
Yeah, just know if you find Lance the same way that I did, which is a random ad on Facebook,
Mhm.
um, it's don't take the ad for how it looks. Take the guy for who for who it
Yeah.
is. Like it, it's it's gonna be way more. It was way more. We'll put it this way. It's not. It's a simple process,
Mhm.
but it's not an easy process.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's something that it's simple to do, but it's going to take time to get through everything and all that stuff. So don't go in looking for an immediate like immediately I'm good. Like it's depending on what it is that you're coming in with, but just know that it's something that's gonna you're gonna get better and better and better and better. And it's like the only limits are going to be the limits that you put on yourself with it. And just know that Lance is one of those he actually cares, and he's somebody that will go. I mean, I got more than I anticipated from it, so I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but he's, it's one of those things where he actually cares about the people that he works with, which is probably why he's so picky about who he works with.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
um,
I want people to
yeah,
succeed, and they have to have the right attitude. Like, and I guess I'll close this note here. It's like for anyone here, if I speak to you, look, this is not a magic trick. I'm not promising unicorns in the morning, birds chirping fly over your head. It's a different kind of workout. If you've ever worked with a personal trainer for your classic physical muscles, there is an incredible parallel between the way your physical muscles can grow and strengthen and your motion muscles. And you really do have to go about the same kind of way, the same methodology as in a workout. And that's what I teach ultimately at the end of the day. But if you and I want to speak, I'm talking to anyone else listening here, me and whoever I work with, you and I will be co-creators, right? I got the process. Guess who does it? It's fucking you. And if I have any concerns that you're gonna have your dog eat your homework, it's just not worth it. So bottom line is the end of the day, I was always make sure people come in with the right attitude. They're ready to work hard, and as long as they're willing to work hard and they are kind to themselves, literally, I'm gonna help you all, whoever's listening here, build a muscle from the ground floor. I assure you, even in our first conversation, I will teach you things that nobody ever taught you before. You understand why this works. You'll understand why your way would never work at the level you really want. But we are going to build something from the ground floor. It is what it is. But you'll appreciate the fact that you're doing something you've never done before, and you'll appreciate the fact that it's like, hey, you know what? This is something new. And like Adam's done a really great job of saying here, it's like, okay, this is going to be progression. It's not going to be an overnight thing, but I can have weekly progression, which is amazing. Your experience then. So, to anyone listening here, if you'd like to have a conversation, love to have that conversation with you. If you want just general information, you can go to my website, refocusonpower.com. Okay. And if you're really interested, I got a book. Go on Amazon. Refocus on Power by Lance Mikkel, Mikkel. And I'll give you a glimpse to what you've been missing here. And if you're really interested and you have a personal conversation, you can go to www.refocus, refocus, on happiness, happiness.com/now. Then you can book a call me. We can have a personal conversation if you're at that level. And hey, why time is short? Why waste your time? You don't. Again, books are limited. Books don't speak back to you. There's no feedback mechanism. You should only buy the book if you want a glimpse of what you've been missing. But ultimately, you will move 10,000 times faster further if I'm speaking to you. Okay, so please consider the program. But more than happy to earn anyone's trust here. If you want to start a little smaller, that's not a problem. But for anyone who wants to have a full call, refocusonhappiness.com/now, and we can have a conversation. Okay, awesome. Adam, thank you so much for sharing your experience here. And
yep,
yeah, really appreciate your time. And I'll be speaking to you soon enough. Thanks so much, Adam.
got it.